Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting Propagandacast with me, your host, ImperialDane, and today I have for you a 1 vs 1 on Semois. Yes, indeed, we are returning once more to the small township of Semois, somewhere in France, representing ever so many small French towns in France, in Normandy. Set for another duel, another drama between the Allies and the Axis for the dominance of Normandy and the future of Western Europe. Huzzah! Of course, we are aware of the setup of Semois, sort of divided into 3 sectors, larger. Of course, with all the smaller sectors, territorial sectors, but that's generally it. Hotspot is right here in the town by the church. Some players in particular like to sort of set up a forward barracks here, in particular Panzer Elite commanders can set up there and with defensive operations can also heal the troops, creating a formidable stronghold, although it can also turn into a death trap if you're not wary. But of course, let us go have a look at our opponent commanders, and today we are looking at AngrySturmgewehr, that is angry assault rifles, of the Panzer Elite 17th SS Ausklärungsabteilung, rushing forwards in the night, looking for a weak spot in the Allied lines, only crashing into the 1st Infantry Division under the command of that dashing rogue, ImperialDane. Huzzah, we all like him, or well, some do, others probably don't, but I do, because it's me, hooray. And yes, some might think I'm a bit of an ego tripper, and perhaps I am, but then again, why can't I show them a few of my games, in particular since I'm rather lacking in the higher level games, and so of course, well, I can rather rectify that with my own games. So, let's get to it, eh? Engineers on the way. Other engineers are ready to set up a barracks. Kettenkraut moving out. No doctrine as of yet, though some are known to actually choose it pretty early on, although I'd not advise to do that. Something is going on the way on the headquarters as well. The red light is flashing, signifying something is going on there, but what I cannot say. Could it be a Kettenkraut or could it be Panzergrenadiers? Panzergrenadiers it is, probably with the Gewehr 43 upgrade already underway. The excitement is already palpable. And we are seeing the barracks up, we are seeing riflemen, and what shall the Panzer Elite commander do? Shall he be going for lots of Panzergrenadiers with Gewehr 43s and then some armored cars? Or shall he be doing something else? Only time will tell. Personally, I rather prefer getting some riflemen and then getting a weapon support center up, a heavy machine gun and some other fun stuff, depending on how things go. In particular, the heavy machine gun will be nice if he goes heavy on the Panzergrenadiers. Second team marching out. No Gewehr 43 so far. There we go. In fact, Gewehr 43, semi-automatic rifle in the hands of the Wehrmacht. And looks like they have a set destination in mind. Riflemen are ready, securing the munitions here. And Panzergrenadier team number 2 do not follow number 1 team, but are instead securing territory right here, although mind you, they are a bit slower at that than say a Kettenkraut or your regular infantry troops. And riflemen on the other hand are actually pretty quick. One of the fastest units in game. My goodness, I seem to be a bit off in my pronunciation. And engineers running straight into these Panzergrenadiers with Gewehr 43s, and then what do? You immediately retreat. Sometimes the best thing is to get out of there as swiftly as possible, suffering as few losses as possible. In this case, I lost nothing, which is good. Riflemen securing this munitions point, Panzergrenadiers securing this point, and looks like further Panzergrenadiers are arriving on the field. The 17th is really hitting hard, and we are seeing the Kettenkraut sneaking about. And a hiccup somewhere in the distance. I do believe I hear the Kettenkraut actually at this moment, since you can actually hear units through the fog of war. Keep that in mind. That can be a bit helpful. You can usually not determine how, where, but you can usually determine, oh wait, there's a panzer on the way, best prepare, sort of. And sending out a larger force to sort of engage this up here, and also sort of preparing for a sort of attempt at seizing this fuel point. So that's always good to know. Riflemen moving in, engaging the Panzergrenadiers, who are pulling themselves back into cover, taking quite a bit of fire, and getting out of there, perhaps hoping for some reinforcements, and further Panzergrenadiers are in fact arriving, my goodness. And looks like he's been going for a lot of the munitions points, in fact. Could be he's looking to secure as many munitions as possible for his Gewehr 43 Bonanza. Meanwhile, securing territory here, further riflemen on the way, hurrah! Enemy more riflemen are sneaking about, securing territory, denying it to the Panzer Elite. In particular, the fuel is always good to deny, and as I'm rather at this stage sort of suspecting, well, he's probably going to be going for a lot of armored cars. We don't like those, do we, precious? No, we don't. Opening up on the Panzergrenadiers, forcing them away. Taking cover behind the house, and then they do nothing. What do I do? Shall I take up position in the house? Shall I make a run for it? But then again, he might do so as well. But no. Apparently, he's too late and is forced into retreat. Riflemen coming under heavy fire as a large force of Panzergrenadiers march in, forcing my riflemen into retreat. And what do my engineers do? They begin laying down mines to sort of protect this victory point, while the central one is also in the hands of my dashing American forces. And I can already rather suspect then what the sort of strategic plan is. Lots of Panzergrenadiers, and then onwards combat AngrySturmgewehr. A human wave tactics, not really the sort of thing you ought to be doing, but then again, a lot of Panzer Elite commander apparently get tempted by the darker sides, the more insidious forces of communism, and fall into human wave tactics, which is never good. So keep that in mind.
Supply lines are broken. We have territory out.
But right from now, moving in, perhaps hoping to sort of catch them off guard, and of course he's immediately spreading out his Panzergrenadiers, which does give me a small window to sort of effectuate any sort of greater damage, and looks like he's beginning to set up some structures. A logistic company, Panzergrenadiers coming under fire, one goes down. Oh dear, he's wounded, but there are no Panzer Elite medics. That might be a bit over the top actually. And looks like a huge engagement, and what do? Well, I get the bloody hell out of there, since of course there's no way I can compete with all of that, in particular small gewehr for the freezer handed out. But what do I do then instead? Set up a weapon support center, get a heavy machine gun, and then I muck about preparing, and he's marching in from the south, moving in for another great kill perhaps, and marching across open territory, coming under quite a bit of fire from the riflemen, flanking about while some Panzergrenadiers are taking up the frontal positions. How shall it all end up? Not looking good. A lot of pressure, and riflemen are pulling out of there. These ones not running through there, since I don't want them to be cut down. That is, of course, a lot of firepower that can be brought down. Engineers moving in, and these chaps are slowly trying to delay them until I can't get the heavy machine gun on the field and begin bearing it down on those Panzergrenadiers of the 17th SS Götz von der Lichingen. And looks like these riflemen are taking quite a bit of fire, slowly pulling them out and not wanting to retreat them yet. Why? Let's just briefly pause, because if I do at this stage, they'll run this way and right past the Panzergrenadiers. Instead, I'm sort of trying to pull them towards here until the retreat path will actually take them through here, away from the Panzergrenadiers, not past them. That's always a good thing to try and sort of work into your plans. What way are my troops going to retreat? Because otherwise you might suddenly end up with a lot of dead troops. There we go, pulling out. Heavy machine gun and riflemen advancing, hoping to get the drop on those Panzergrenadiers, while rifle engineers are sneaking about here, taking advantage of the fact that the Panzergrenadiers all focused in one point. And we are seeing a second structure going up, a Panzer support command. That's actually a bit unusual. Usually see, well, the armored car, but then again he might be expecting me going for armored cars, and of course then the anti-tank half-track is going to be very helpful. Engineers coming under fire, but not before they manage to secure the victory point. Heavy machine gun setting up. And there we go, 30 caliber water-cooled heavy machine gun opening up, cutting down the Panzergrenadiers, sending them scurrying away like good little Huns. In the meanwhile, we are seeing not much here in the base though, but advancing in towards the center once more. Engineers laying down mines. Again, I'm sort of suspecting an armored car assault in this case. A mine to sort of cover any retreat is always nice. Heavy machine gun advancing forwards, ready to set up in a covering position here. Not the cafe, since that doesn't have quite the good position for this one. On the other hand, can cover through here, here, and here, meaning this is actually a pretty good position. Anti-tank half-track moving in, opening up on the structure. 30 caliber not focusing on it though. Flamethrower scorching the Panzergrenadiers were trying to set up. That's meaning, of course, scorched earth, because he's trying to set up booby traps. Panzergrenadier team getting cut down, and apparently the anti-tank half-track is using focused fire, and apparently this I didn't know. It's actually also quite effective against troops in buildings. I wasn't entirely aware of that, but that of course only cements further that the anti-tank half-track can also be used as a sort of assault gun. And mind you, let's just briefly pause for a slight historical lesson here. This light anti-tank half-track wasn't really designated as that. What do you mean? Or what do I mean, you say? Well, it was actually designated as the squad leader's command vehicle. Basically, And so of course it wasn't just there to sort of provide anti-tank assets with a tiny gun, as some of you might be figuring, well, that's not going to be doing much. No, it wasn't, but it was also of course able to fire high explosive shells, and that of course what focused fire sort of provides, and so can be used as a sort of very light assault gun. So of course use it like that, and use it to also knock out infantry. Yes, that's actually what I prefer using it as for myself as well, and it did so quite nicely. Of course that rather throws a huge wrench into my plans, since I hadn't expecting my heavy machine gun being put out of commission so quickly. But I do in return knock out a Kettenkrad, although that's not quite the same. Kettenkrads aren't armed with heavy machine guns, although I'm pretty sure then we'd probably be seeing a lot more Kettenkrads then.
We're losing ground out there.
A bit of lull in the fighting. Securing the center. Looks like he might be setting up something here again once more. Setting up a supply yard, reinforcing. This is not really the good engagement we just had right there. But I am not deterred. I shall push onwards. Onwards, at least I hope so. Supply yard is up. Motor pool probably will be going up now to sort of provide me with some armored vehicles. And I do know that, yes, indeed, he's moving it back all the way there. And of course, why is it that? Well, defensive operations beside healing your troops also gives them sort of decrease. Also has the function of sort of decreasing cooldown, or well, fixing the cooldown on your units. And of course that also applies to anti-tank half-tracks. And of course he wants focus fire to be ready again, because he's a clever Panzer Elite commander. He knows that focus fire is a bloody great ability. Booby trapping the central victory point as well. Rather defensive strategy right here. Of course, being defensive with the Panzer Elite is something that should be done with a lot of caution. It can end up biting you in the ass, usually with a big boot and some munitions. Also, we are seeing increased squad sizes, more booby traps. In fact, light anti-tank half-track once more ready, securing up right here. And of course, an armored car. Why am I getting that? Of course, since you're seeing I'm getting a motor pool. Well, at the same time, as you might have noticed, there's a lot of buildings here which can give me a slight advantage with my slightly more maneuverable armored car, and that's rather what I'm banking on. Forward barracks setting up right here, and of course defensive operations making this quite his strong point. Then again, that can also work against him, and of course. And what do I mean by that? Well, it sort of fixes in troops into a certain position. He can't move beyond a certain area, otherwise he's not going to be getting any of the benefits of it. Plus, if I were to say get something like a mortar and of course bombard, then again I'm sort of going to have a good idea where to hit, because again, right near the church by the forward barracks. Riflemen holding the line, so are the engineers, but then again a lot of firepower, lots of Panzergrenadiers. Engineers moving in, hoping to scorch a few, though not looking good. Again, many rifles sparing down on my riflemen. There we go. Enter full retreat, rather realizing this is not going to avail me anything. Mortar team on the way, since of course at this stage I'm sort of figuring, well, if I can keep his troops fixed again at this sort of position, since he's of course going to be very keen on doing that, then he's going to be presenting a very lovely target for my mortars. Riflemen coming under heavy fire. Foreman Gewehr 43 team opening up on the riflemen. That's not good for my riflemen, in fact, and there we go, retreating, getting the devil out of there. Rest are getting ready. Mortar team soon ready, and so is the T-17 armored car, ready to open up on those cheeky Huns. And we are seeing a scout car also setting up on the fuel point right here, rather interesting. And we are seeing a Funkwagen vampire half-track. Oh my goodness, I haven't even noticed that. Well, I sort of had, but I didn't put any greater mind to it. This is certainly interesting. In fact, let's go switch over to him. A vampire half-track, that's quite interesting. Securing the central area, booby-trapping everything that can be booby-trapped, more or less. But not relenting though, pushing onwards at all points, keeping him of course focused, spread out, of course, since he has to retake all those points. Vampire half-track moving through there, interesting. Interesting. Engaging through here, riflemen marching in, flamethrower engineers. And engineers getting in there while T-17 moves in, covering fire. Mortar also moving in. And of course, right there, as you might have noticed, these Panzergrenadiers are now in a very nice position for getting hit by a mortar. And there we go, right nicely hit. Few Panzergrenadiers already going down. armored car, anti-tank half-tank moving in. But no, it misses, and the Panzergrenadiers themselves are forced to retreat. Rather heavy losses and not looking good all of a sudden. And the Vampire half-track setting up right here. Nice spot, and I of course am not noticing it at all, because again, why? Well, of course it's right here, and then of course it's very far away from where usually all of your units tread. That's a good idea, in fact, where to place the Funkwagen. And of course this means even more fuel for him and even less resources for me. In fact, it will also cut a few of the resources coming through the other points here, which have to go through the fuel point here, away. My goodness, that was rather clever, wasn't it? Booby traps going off, but I don't mind. Well, I have set some of them off, and some have actually caught on fire due to that. But Rifleman holding the line, Panzergrenadiers advancing once more. And Mortar team also getting ready. 3 kills so far, and of course he's rather providing me with a nice idea where his Panzergrenadiers are, and of course a nice spot to target my mortar. Me and my mortar having fun with the Hun. And the T-17 moves in. Why is that? My goodness. Opening up and stunning the anti-tank half-track with a white phosphorus round, doing quite a bit of damage. Rather bold move there, but I figured it might work. And we are seeing an anti-tank grenade being used on the T-17. Light anti-tank half-track fires, but it misses due to the white phosphor, which also acts as a smoke screen rather interestingly. And Panzergrenadiers though taking losses, and of course while he can reinforce, it is very expensive, so of course that's rather the disadvantage of having such a mentality of creating a strong point when you're the Panzer Elite. You can end up backfiring, and of course you'll be using a lot more resources for something like this. And it is going to be quite costly in reinforcements. And of course when he's climbing up his troops against a mortar, that's of course not good either. And oh dear, these riflemen are being caught. Oh dear, retreat them, ImperialDane. Don't lose them, don't lose them. There we go, he's retreating. Oh, one at a time. He's sort of figuring he can survive. No, one rifleman team is lost, and of course now they can focus down both at their own leisure. That's very bad. Mortar round though hitting, but only wounding. Veterancy 1 though, so that's going to be hella weakened with accuracy. Panzergrenadiers forced back. A very low health rifleman team holding the line. Engineers moving in, scorching a bit, but they're going to have to quickly retreat. Mortar continuing to fire, the half-track continuing to be, well, the Vampire half-track continuing to be a vampire, sucking away my precious resources, including the most precious of all, fuel. And Mortar just continuing to fire away just for the fun of it, and he's sort of realizing that, hey, I might have guessed where he's clumping up all of his Panzergrenadiers. In fact, I have, thus quickly encouraging him to get the devil out of there, and Airborne quickly dropping in to sort of quickly replace some of my losses and get some recoilless rifles to deal with that anti-tank half-track, which he is rather swiftly getting repaired, which is good. At the same time, he's getting the Panzer Support Command upgrade, meaning of course the Panzer IV F1 or possibly the Hotchkiss light tank. We'll of course have to see what the 17th SS will have to do with, although in either case it will have to come from some sort of replacement battalion. T-17 in dire need of repairs. Mortar team in quite good condition, and anti-tank are moving in. So of course I've seen the anti-tank half-track, and it usually also means there'll probably be a Panzer IV / a Hotchkiss very soon. Although usually a Panzer IV, I rarely see a Hotchkiss beyond myself using it. Engineers moving in, preparing to repair. Airborne also getting ready now with the recoilless rifles, and looks like the cannon crowd is moving in from the south. And Panzergrenadiers charging in, T-17 getting away, hoping to lure them in, and there we go, hitting the mine. Some nice losses there. Anti-tank grenade goes off on the T-17, but due to the repairs, it's sturdy enough. Riflemen firing away, mortar rounds flying through the air, or well, repositioning before sending them out through the air. Panzergrenadiers pulling away back towards the forward barracks, once more getting reinforced. He's probably setting up some manpower and fuel for that Panzer IV. Airborne holding the line in the heavy cover, and the mortar continuing to fire away. Of course, mortars rather ignore cover, and there we go. One Panzer Grenadier is down. Rest are taking damage. There we go. Another Panzer Grenadier down. Mortar rounds continue to soar through the air, and heavy losses right there. 3 down. And veterancy 2 for the mortar right as well, forcing some of the Panzer Grenadiers to retreat rather quickly. Cannon sneaking through here, although awfully close to those engineers with their flamethrower. And the T-17 moves in to sort of deal with that. Riflemen getting reinforced. Mortar firing away ever merrily, ever gleefully. Panzergrenadiers moving in to stop these engineers from taking the point, but apparently they seem to be having a bit of trouble with that. Panzergrenadiers sitting about through the northern area of the church, and there we go, engineers retreating, but not before this point has been rendered neutral. Riflemen sneaking through here. Huzzah. And riflemen moving in as well. Once more, mortar rounds continue to fly, and engineers doing a bit of more of capturing work, having set up a mine right there. And the airborne also advance ever slowly. Opening up on some of the Panzergrenadiers, in fact getting one down. 2 kills so far for these chaps. With their carbines and recoilless rifles. And another is hit by those damn recoilless rifles. Panzergrenadiers out in the open, taking quite a bit of fire. Riflemen also firing away. These Panzergrenadiers are certainly in a bit of a bind, standing out in the open on the wrong side of the cover, and there we go. Realizing the folly of their actions, they do retreat, but not before half the team is cut down in cold blood by the Americans. And engineers continuing the route of harassment. The Panzer IV moving in. The 17th SS pulling in some armor from a training and replacement battalion. Recoilless rifles moving up and opening up, in fact. Heading through it even despite the armored skirts. Anti-tank are moving in. And Panzer Grenadiers taking a devastating catastrophic hit. Almost lost entirely, down to 4 men from 8. That's heavy losses. Stunning the Panzer IV, allowing the airborne to move in, perhaps get a few more good shots off. Anti-tank gun also moving in. And what is this from the north? The anti-tank half-deck moves in, hoping to get a good shot off on the T-17. But perhaps it realizes it's falling. No, it opens up, hitting the T-17. But the anti-tank gun and recoilless rifles open up themselves, and the anti-tank half-deck spirals out of control, exploding in the middle of the road. That's a bit unfortunate. What's the current situation? Well, 5 Panzer Grenadier teams still. Scout car and an armored vampire half-track, and of course that Panzer IV. But this has rather turned against him. He's sort of been forced into digging in, and of course into a war of attrition. And of course things are looking rather nasty due to that mortar continually bombarding his positions, and he has absolutely nothing to counter it with. And I do believe it is time for the mid-game analysis. What is the current situation? Well, he has been able to cause me quite some losses, but at the same time I have as well at this stage, although not quite the same way. I've been able to kill entire units. I've not quite had the same nugget with his infantry, but at the same time I've been able to keep him constantly reinforcing, constantly spending manpower, and I've certainly managed to secure myself a veterancy 2 mortar team already, which is certainly quite helpful, quite lethal. At the same time, the map is reasonably well divided, except I hope the central victory point, although he does have the advantage, and the Funkwagen, which of course is stealing resources from me. Sneaky Funkwagen. Otherwise, though, he is suffering losses, and he needs to sort of change his plan. He needs to stop being caught up in this war of attrition right here by the church. Yes, it's a very nice, inviting place to fight in due to the reinforcement and healing, but at the same time, though, it's also giving me a pretty good idea where to sight all of my weapons, and it's also really limiting the advantage and strength of the Panzer Elite mobility. He's not using it. He's sort of just trying to use raw brute force, and that's just not working when you're the Panzer Elite. So there you go. For me, though, I'm sort of having some luck, but at the same time I need to keep up pressure on the wings. I sort of need to keep him spreading out, dividing his forces while keeping up the pressure in the center, sort of making it harder for him to focus on any spot. And that's generally always what you want to do when you're the aggressor, in particular the Americans, and you thrive on chaos in the enemy's lines. So I need to keep up the pressure, also need to keep down losses, and I probably need to get up a medic station and some other bits. So let us continue the fight and securing this, or at least trying to secure it. There we go. And of course that's going to force his Panzer Grenadiers to move in and move into it, at the same time presenting them as big fat targets. BARs being equipped for my Panzer Grenadiers. On my riflemen, I don't have Panzer Grenadiers, sadly. And those chaps inside there. Satchel charge going off, perhaps hoping to catch them. Of course it's not, but it's going to damage the church a bit. And of course rather switch to plan B. If I can't render it neutral and once more regular church, then I'm going to blow it to bits. So I'm probably going to be focusing my anti-tank on very soon. There we go. Opening up. Panzergrenadiers desperately trying to stop that as well. Or at least stop the airborne from rendering it neutral. Rest are getting reinforced, at least the engineers are. Panzergrenadiers moving in from the south. Perhaps he's looking to make a larger move, hoping to attack me on several fronts. That's not a bad idea. Anti-tank gun slowly pulling back. I'm not entirely sure what to expect. Looks like he is getting a Kampfgruppe Kompanie. Perhaps hoping to get some sort of mortar to counter my mortar, at least bombard my positions. Panzergrenadiers and finding themselves out in the open though. Taking quite a bit of fire from the T-17, all the rifles and BARs and recoilless rifles, oh dear. Down to 2 men. 1 man, oh dear, the last man might be lost as well. No, he barely makes it out of there. But barely, instead now Panzergrenadiers moving in from the south. 2 offensive veterancy 4-man Panzergrenadier teams, all with Gewehr 43s. In fact, he's equipped all of his troops with Gewehr 43s. Quite excessive. The church still taking heavy fire. Panzergrenadier still getting cut down. The mortar now joining in on bombarding the church with every sort of munition available and possible. Not giving up right now. And moving in to counter sort of this movement right here in the south, sending up some riflemen, but they are awfully low on health. Medic station going up. Right there, that's good. Booby trap going off somewhere. Right there, oh dear, some engineers are lost. I sort of forgotten that, and of course it's the advantage of booby traps. Let's just briefly pause for that. And what do you mean by that, Dane? Well, of course, booby traps are sort of the thing that works best when your opponent's occupied elsewhere, and sort of then he forgets a unit, and then kaboom, he's just lost an entire infantry team, and you basically spent balls in resources. That's sort of the advantage right there, and let us return to the fight. Panzergrenadiers standing out in the open, taking heavy fire from the airborne and riflemen. Recoilless rifles blasting away. Anti-tank gun continuing to use the church as a target practice thing. Church tower is gone. Mortar rounds joining in as well, trying to hit those Panzergrenadiers who are slowly pulling out. Airborne not reinforcing, apparently. I forgot they could do that briefly. That's not good. You generally want to remember that. Panzergrenadiers though still are taking quite a bit of fire, and we are seeing a mortar half-track moving in. Leichte Schützenpanzerwagen mit Mortar. Probably not that much directly what it's called, but still pretty decent. And there we go, incendiary rounds. That's rather unfortunate for me, of course, rather making this a very dangerous spot to reside in, and quickly pulling out of there, retreating the airborne. Medics continuing to pull in wounded. And engineers coming under fire, but a mortar opening up on the Panzergrenadiers. Panzergrenadiers advancing in, and oh dear, 2 men down. And another hit, and it is lost. And I gain a veterancy 3 mortar team. That's absolutely brilliant, and of course that means its shots will be even more lethal. And usually there's a sort of thing where, well, if they get hit in sort of the radius of the mortar, there's still a chance they can sort of survive it somehow. But the American mortar can actually gain an accuracy bonus that means that even splash damage will be more accurate and more lethal, making, of course, the American mortar at veterancy 3 incredibly deadly. Returning to the match, just sort of wanted to explain that. And that, of course, is going to make it even more difficult for us Panzergrenadiers to sneak about. The church is still there, but barely. Anti-tank grenades being thrown at the armored car, doing a bit of damage. Mortar continuing to fire away. Riflemen advancing with their BARs, hoping to prevent this point from falling into the hands of the 17th SS. Engineers still there, but forgotten for now. And Panzergrenadiers are taking quite a bit of damage. More riflemen are advancing, in fact. And taking up this point. And, oh dear, that's an entire rifleman team just lost right there, because again, I forgot it. That's again the power of booby traps if used properly. Well, if your opponent sort of is forgetful or is occupied with other things, like say the heat of battle. And there we go, the church is finally gone, thus denying him a point of reinforcement and healing. Mortar half-track advancing. Mortar rounds hitting the Panzergrenadiers. T-17 opening up, riflemen as well. And those Panzergrenadiers are getting gunned down. Engineers moving in. And do not make it out of there alive. Tragic. Mortar continuing to bombard what is suspected American positions, at least the mortar half-track is. Hopefully my mortar is not doing that. That would be rather unfortunate. And in dire need of court-martialing then. But most victory points are still in fact in my hands, and currently victory points are at my advantage.
Our supply lines
He has less than 160, I have a little under 500. Medics continuing to pull in the wounded, good show there. And riflemen are advancing, and the mortar half-track is rather exposed, but there's a Panzer IV moving in, locking down, opening up on my riflemen, blowing them to bits. The anti-tank gun could move in, and so could the airborne, perhaps even this T-17. Riflemen are getting the devil out of there. Riflemen sneaking through in the south, hoping to avoid the booby trap death. Got quite a bit of manpower here, but I can't use it due to a lack of, well, population cap. And there we go, opening up on the Panzer IV, but I rather realized quickly that, hey, the mortar is a much better target. Why is that, you ask? Well, let me get into a quick discussion about priorities of targets. Well, while the Panzer IV is certainly a larger threat in sort of direct combat, at the same time, though my anti-tank guns and recoilless rifles can keep it at bay, on the other hand, that mortar can knock out my anti-tank guns and my mortar and my airborne, thus making it a slightly larger threat, and of course it can easily be knocked out, and thus allowing me to return the focus to the Panzer IV. So very soon I will open up on the mortar half-track with everything possible. There we go, recoilless rifles, anti-tank gun round, knocking it out of control, crashing into the house. Panzergrenadiers advancing forwards once more, coming under fire from the airborne, probably also some mortar rounds. Airborne getting out of there, getting reinforced, and another rifleman team is in fact ready from the medic station. That was one went south there. And engaging all of these Panzer grenades right there. Pineapple grenades getting researched at this stage. Awfully a bit late, but then again, pineapple grenades can always be used for quite a good effect. In particular, they can be the sort of surprise effect if your opponent hasn't seen it for some time, and then all of a sudden he's getting hit by it, and then of course he's sort of not ready.
Our forces are taking casualties.
Rifleman team though is cut down on the retreat. That's most unfortunate. Airborne holding the line, but they are forced to retreat. C-17 trying its best to hold the line. Mortar rounds continuing to hit Panzer Grenadiers at the advance. 21 kills, 23. T-17 blasting away. Mortar team retreating. T-17 hammering away at the Panzer Grenadiers. Anti-tank grenades being thrown, destroying the main gun. My goodness. Riflemen moving in from the south. Panzer Grenadiers alone health, and calling in some airborne. My goodness, a lot of is going on, and some engineers are securing this northern victory point once more, increasing the pressure, and medics are still pulling in the wounded, ensuring that any medals won't have to be posthumous, at least not yet. Everybody's getting reinforced. Panzer IV is still watching there, but it's not really able to react, still fearing something. And the airbornes quickly secure the anti-tank gun, and of course can reinforce on the field. Not something you always want to do, but in this case I figured it was worth it. Looks like the Panzer IV trundles away, ever damaged, hoping to knock out those engineers, at least something it can handle without coming under a lot of fire. There we go, engineers retreating, rather realizing they don't have the assets to deal with it. Other airborne are getting reinforced, and I might want to get another engineer team to immediately begin repairs on that T-17. And another advance into the center. More Panzer Grenadiers, still no assault rifles, no Sturmgewehr. Running me, considering that's what his name is. And these chaps are holding out. Riflemen moving in, and a grenade being dropped right in the middle of them. Oh dear. There we go. Panzer Grenadier team is instantly knocked out. And looks like he's setting up a forward barracks right there instead. Rather interesting. Firing away at the Panzer Grenadiers, causing quite a few losses.
Casualties being reported.
But I am continuing the fight. The good fight. Grenades being dropped, though missing. But the mortar, though, on the other hand, gets some good kills. Panzer Grenadiers getting torn apart. And I, of course, not yet really noticed that I'm still not really getting a lot of resources due to the vampire half-track. And we are seeing sector artillery going down, devastating some of my troops rather violently, forcing me into my own territory. Panzergrenadiers do not manage to secure the central victory point. Huzzah and hurrah. Looks like another mortar half-track has been called in to provide some fire support once more. And the American mortar continues to fire away most gleefully, while engineers are sitting down a triage centers ready to provide some healing. And looks like this medic is going to get burned alive. That's rather unfortunate. But the center is still mine, although, my goodness, he's actually using his Funkwagen to set up a Goliath. Sneaky, sneaky. And Panzergrenadiers once more advancing towards the center. Mortar is still ready. 26 kills so far. Airborne opening up. Riflemen opening up. And these chaps might get a grenade thrown at them very soon. And looks like the Goliath. Oh dear, it detonates too late. Only killing one engineer rifleman there, gaining veterancy 2. And I've of course not really figured out that there might be a vampire half-track even when I see the Goliath, because I'm too absolutely occupied. I'm sort of, right, I need to fight. There's Panzergrenadiers in the center. I need to keep up the pressure. I need to keep up this war of attrition, which he cannot win. In particular, not with a veterancy 3 mortar. That's certainly something he cannot win against unless he knocks it out. 28 kills. Quite good right there. Airborne and riflemen getting ready to charge in. In fact, another rifleman team has been reformed. That's so far 2. That's good. And riflemen advancing towards the north, also going for the northern victory point. Keeping up the pressure on all points, on all angles. Rifleman and T-17 advancing into the center of everything. Veterancy 3 for the T-17, my goodness. Panzergrenadiers getting grenade thrown at them. And another rifleman team is lost. That's, oh dear, not good. The mortar team, though, is still racking up kills. And looks like the Panzer IV, though not repaired, is moving in. And looks like a mortar round damage as the T-17 airborne need to move in and support. Perhaps the anti-tank on as well. Riflemen doing their best right there. Doing nothing. And an attempt at doing a bit of harassment here does not work out quite well. Losing me some airborne. As they are getting gunned apart by flak feelings. For some reason they keep stopping up. But pushing onwards here. Mortar half-track might be lost once more. He needs to get it out of there. Really needs to get it out of there. And he managed to do so. But the Panzer IV still left behind. And it's knocked out by the airborne, gaining them veterancy 2, firing them up and then pulling out of there once more. Kettenkraut sneaking in through the south. And the mortar team pull out at threat of the mortar team. In fact, it might have been close to getting knocked out, actually, I believe. Remembering the rifleman there taking that point, while of course he's taking this point. German mortars hitting my mortar airborne. Since he does have a small moment of respite right there. Riflemen and mortars moving in, ready to enter the fray again, ever again. And let us return to AngrySturmgewehr, who has now also access to the Hummel. But will he have time to call it in? The resource. And grenades getting dropped at the throne. Or apparently not. There seems to have been a bug where it didn't get thrown, but I still got charged for the munitions. That was a bit annoying. Medics, though, continuing to pull in the wounded. And those Panzergrenadiers are awfully low on health. Riflemen with veterancy 2 moving in. And another Panzer IV is ready. No Hummel. Self-propelled artillery. Riflemen advancing, throwing a grenade at the Panzergrenadiers. Doing a bit of damage, but then the mortar hits. Doing quite a bit of damage. In fact, killing quite a few Panzergrenadiers once more. All hail the mortar. So far, 36 kills. Excellent mortar team right there. Airborne and riflemen taking quite a bit of fire themselves, though. While the other airborne are moving for the central point. Kettenkraut trying to take this point, but riflemen were held back to protect it, in fact. And the cannon crowd barely makes it out of there, while the riflemen will probably immediately seize this victory point back. This victory point has also been secured, but now engineers are moving in to secure that as well. My goodness, pressure on all sides.
Achtung, the enemy is impacting.
Bitter fighting. T-17 moving up, opening up, and for some reason Fraps is rather dropping now in frame rate. And hopefully this should help. At least temporarily, no. Panzergrenadiers awfully low on health, retreating once more. Majority of victory points is currently in the hands of the 1st Infantry Division with support from the 101st Airborne. And the T-17 finally knocked out. The Veterancy 3 armored car was lost, crashing into the house. Breaking through the walls, dentering them in. That's not happy for the house owners. But Airborne are moving in to deal with the Panzergrenadier threat. Others are moving in, very low on infantry and everything else. Not sure why Fraps decides to be a bother right now. And there we go once more. Not helping at all, but not long to go. So bear with me. Airborne engaging the Panzergrenadiers in the south. Almost all victory points are in the hands of the US. And only 7 victory points to go. And oh dear, the frame rate is completely acting up. Fraps deciding it doesn't want to cooperate. And a quick GG from me. And there we go. Game over. The 17th SS did not survive the fighting in Semois, in this small French town. The 1st Infantry Division was able to take it on. So there you go. And just for the note, AngrySturmgewehr was a level 13 Panzer Elite commander, possibly 14, though before I'm not entirely sure. So keep that in mind, but nonetheless, there you go. Cheers and hurrah. I hope you enjoyed this fight. If you did, why not subscribe or tell your friends? And if you didn't, well, why not send in a replay of your own? And let us move on to the lessons of this match. Well, there are some interesting ones, of course. We did see some nice aggression from the Panzer Elite commander, although wasn't quite happy with this sort of human wave blobbed up Panzer Grenadier tactics with lots of gear for freeze. But you saw it can certainly be beaten, and the man I beat it was, of course, the sort of pulling him into this sort of fight. A Panzer Elite commander should not be fighting a war of attrition, a slugfest, a grind. Panzer Grenadiers were not really meant for that. They are more for mobile operations. They don't quite have the sort of same equipment to sort of constantly fighting in close quarters, a war of attrition, and they sort of lost in that. In particular, the mortar was really able to cause him some humongous losses. He sort of also pulled in his vehicles into close quarters, which only worked to my advantage with the anti-tank guns and the recoilless rifles. All that goodness really caused him some heavy losses. He should have retained mobility. He should have stuck to the flanks rather than the center of the map. That was rather his problem. So that's certainly something that should be kept in mind. Of course, mines weren't really greatly used, but they did use the medic station. Of course, as you saw, I got quite a few rifleman teams back out of it, so that's of course always nice and helpful. Other things, of course, to be aware of is, of course, the mortars really played a big difference on both sides. I mean, his forced me to pull back, while mine sort of kept the pressure, really caused him some heavy losses. And of course, the Vampire half-track is, of course, also nice. That sort of kept my resources a bit lower, and of course, I barely noticed it. So there you go. Cheers.